Thank you. Thanks, Stephen. Oh, there's a little echo up here. AV will square it away. They're good. That song, wow. Today I want to share on how to handle offense. Anyone here ever been offended before? Anywhere in life? Yeah? Yeah?
You offended me this morning.
See? Off to a good start. We offend, we get offended, and so I wanted to bring to light some of the things about that topic. But, honey, was it 6-8 weeks ago, Paul Anderson was in our living room, that somewhere in there, and the topic of being offended came up. Someone that we know very much everything was offending him. So Paul had mentioned a teaching that he had heard given by Katie Geltema, who is the daughter-in-law to Jan Majera, if any of you know her. 2015 at the San Diego Biblical Studies, she taught on offense. So I got a copy of it and listened to it. Carolyn listened to it. Really, really blessed with it. And that started me down this rabbit hole. And I took a deep dive into this. So since then, I've been studying everything I could get my hands. I bought books, I've watched videos, listened to teachings, word studies, all of it to get to this point, because I know in my life, with my background in the military, I unintentionally offend people. I don't mean to, but I do. And I know that. I recognize that. Too often I recognize it after the fact, but I recognize it. Just texted me just the other day and said, "Oh, by the way, what are you teaching on Sunday?" She was praying about the music and everything, and I shared with her. And she said, "Oh, I just taught that on the midweek momentum." I said, "Oh, great. Send me your notes." I told you I was doing a deep dive. I wanted everything. And it's a wonderful teaching. When it comes out, they call it when it drops. I don't know. But when it comes out, watch it. It's really heartfelt. It's great. But I had to take a look at what does it mean biblically to be offended. I know what it is in the senses world. I've got that down. Offend or offense comes from the Greek word scandalon, which signifies to put a snare or stumbling block in the way. And get the picture of a cage with the stick holding up, and you want the animal to go in to get the bait, and then the stick falls and the cage falls. You're trapped. It's a trap because, first and foremost, it takes your mind off of God. Now you're thinking about the fault that's between you and a brother or sister in Christ. And that's where your focus is. It's no longer on the Father, it's on this issue that you feel you need to deal with, and that's a trap. Did you know there's a spiritual battle going on, and we have a devil we must contend with? We've already won the war, but he does everything that he can do on a daily basis to mess with us. Have you noticed that? Well, since I started this deep dive, I think I've been more offended in the last 6 to 8 weeks than all year long, and I know I've offended 2 people. 3. Drew, I guess, I don't. And I'm like, oh. So he said, "Oh, you want to know about this? I'm going to tell you about it." I said, "Okay, good." I learned some things, though. It was real good. And with my background in the military, you really learn to let things roll off your back. When you've got a guy standing this close to you talking about your parents in an unprofessional manner, you don't take that personal. You don't get offended by anything that's said or done. It doesn't matter. What matters is we have a mission. Let's go do that. We'll deal, the rest of the stuff, you just let it roll off your back. So most of the time, offenses don't bother me. In the last 6 weeks, I wasn't crushed. I wasn't angry. I wasn't upset with people. Okay, that's life. No big deal. I got God. I'm good. I'm fine. So next time I think I'm going to teach on love. See where that gets me. See where that gets me. But we get so wrapped up with our feelings. I want to feel good all the time. I don't know anybody that lives that way, because we have an enemy who's constantly trying to disrupt us. And if you were to look around the room, see if there's anybody else in this room that looks like you. I don't see twins anywhere. We come from different backgrounds. We have different educational levels. We grew up in different places. We have different experiences in our life. So my life experience in talking to, say, Drew, his is totally different than mine. I may say something that is perfectly okay with me, but he may take, wait a minute, that's not okay with me. And you have to recognize that that could happen. And you want to be sensitive about people's hearts. You really do. I mean, you don't want anything to come between you and a brother or sister. It's not worth it. Nothing is worth that. In Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12, there it is. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in heavenly realms. Yes, I may have said something to offend someone, but there's more at work than just that. The devil is constantly trying to, let's say I'm the one that was offended. Oh, the thoughts that can come in. Oh, that person, why did they do that to you? They just don't like you anymore. They just don't get you. So I think you need to be angry with them. And you go, no, I'm not going down that road. I'm going to shut those thoughts off and just go, Father, you knew this was going to happen. You know what the solution is. I'm going to come to you, seek your guidance on what to do about it, and we're going to move on. Not going to let it get to my heart. When we have separation from a brother or sister, any separation at all that causes us not to be loving and kind to one another, it's kind of standoffish. That changes our focus from worshiping our Heavenly Father and walking in alignment with Him to, I have to deal with this issue. Well, the way to deal with it is stay connected here. Stay locked in with the Father and then follow what He says. Don't work on the problem and then come back to God. That's not the way to do it. Our goal should always be not to let anything interrupt our relationship with God. It's too valuable. We work too hard in the world to get that relationship and keep it. We're distracted all the time, but we want to stay locked in. We want to stay focused with the Father through it all. Bill Johnson said once that fear not was the number one command in the Bible, because it separates us from hearing God. Fear, bitterness, anger, jealousy, etc. All of those things in life throw a monkey wrench into our connection and relationship with God. We don't need them. We don't want them. So we have to learn not to allow them in, which we can do. Just choose not to do it. The designer, God, put into His design us the ability to hear Him. Isn't that wonderful? We have the ability to hear Him, and He wants that two-way communication. Hearing other things outside of the voice of God invites more wrong things. You ever notice when you go down that road of offense and hurt and pity, and you have that pity party going on, the more you do it, the longer you do it, the bigger the party gets. It's like, no, I don't want to go there. I'm going to stay right here. Because the devil wants to set up a scenario where you don't go back to God. And the longer he can keep you away from that, the more he gets the glory. And I don't really think there's anybody in this room that wants to give the devil any glory at all. It's not good. So, keep this tight. We were designed by God to have a seamless relationship with him from the new birth. It's seamless because he's in us. We can go anywhere. As Jess said, those deep, dark secrets that, God already knows them. It's seamless. We have to keep that. It's what he wants, but it's our job to keep fighting for it. That's the way God designed Adam so he could have that. The devil stepped in, messed it up. Jesus Christ stepped in and fixed it all. Restored. Made whole. Back to where we need to be. When God made Adam, sometimes I sit there and I think about the scriptures because it doesn't give a lot of details to some things. But can you imagine, God wanted man for so long. Time didn't affect him, but it does us. But he wanted a child, a relationship with his creation for a very long time. Here's Adam. And I can just imagine God being with him. And his goal was to be with him face to face with Adam. Face to face. What did he do in the garden? He talked with Adam. He taught Adam. I mean, Adam was formed from the dust of the ground. You ever heard the expression, you're dumb as dirt? He didn't know anything. God had to tell him everything. Oh, by the way, your name's Adam. Adam. Yeah, what is that? What is this? And I can just see the heart of the Father God so welling up that he got to do that with his child. I almost well up in tears thinking about that. That time that he had with Adam, helping him with everything that he needed help with. What a joy that must have been to his heart and to Adam. And then after a period of time, God made Eve, took from the rib of Adam and made Eve. And Eve was to be Adam's helpmeet. Now, there's been some dilution in the church to that word. The word helpmeet actually means fully qualified to stand face to face and make up for anything lacking in the other. Fully qualified to stand face to face. Not subservient, face to face. And make up for anything lacking in the other. So in a marriage relationship, the wife isn't subservient. Eve was to be to Adam a helpmeet, right there with him, equal to him, helping him in everything that he needed to do. So you can imagine all the work my wife has had to put in all these years. Pray for her. Eve was to be that for Adam. Just as God was that for Adam, giving him everything that he needed, Eve was there to support Adam and do that also. When you look at the Hebrew word of help, recorded in help meet, help, ezer, 58:28 for you Strong's fans. "16 times it's used in the Old Testament where God, many of those 16 times, God is the help to Israel. Same word. God stood face to face with Israel and was qualified to supply everything that they needed. So, the same word that God used for Eve and for women, it's the same word God used for him in Israel. Was God subservient to Israel at any time? Not at all. Not at all. He made up for Israel what was lacking. And in Israel, if you read the Old Testament, there was a lot. Because many times they got self-centered. They got to thinking about themselves. And they became more important than God. And if you read the Old Testament, which I would highly recommend you do, you'll see that that's not a very good thing to do. Not a good thing to do. In Ephesians 5, God compares the marriage relationship, that face-to-face, one body, with the church and with our relationship with God. We are not to let anything come between us in our marriage relationship. Nobody can touch that. You don't let anything happen. The same in our relationship with fellow believers. We shouldn't let anything touch that. Should protect that, guard that, so that there's no schism in the body, nothing breaking us apart. I think the marriage is important because you spend so much time together that you're bound to offend one another at some point, doing something. And you need to work it out. You need to learn to deal with that offense, which is a great training ground for dealing with other believers. You really learn how to deal with people's hearts in a marriage relationship. But you know, there's times when we're dealing with one another outside of the marriage that something is said, something is done. It happens in life. You all raised your hands. It happens in life. But what we have to really stop and think about is this something that I should address? It could be something very simple. To you, you get to decide that, but if we called each other out on every little thing that we initially perceived as an offense, we might be busy a lot talking to one another about it. Little things. Maybe you looked the wrong way at them, or you made a comment that they took the wrong way. I don't know. If it's big enough for you to say, hey, I think I need to deal with this, God lays out instruction for us to be able to do that so that we come back together. That's the important thing. We get back together just as quick as we can to reestablish this relationship. In Matthew chapter 18, verse 15, if your brother sins against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. If he listens to you, you have gained your brother. The emphasis that the vast majority of English Bibles have on this verse is that you tell him alone. You don't go tell somebody else what they did. That's not scriptural. That's not right. Why bring another person into it? Do you want pity for what happened to you? Do you want support to see if you're really right about the offense? Ask God. Go to the individual. I know that's what you would want if you were the one that offended. You would want somebody just to come tell you because you don't want anybody else knowing your dirty laundry. I know that. I don't. So go and talk to the person. And don't be afraid to do that. You want to get this thing mended as quick as you possibly can so that we can move on and be lighthearted with one another and love and walk in love with one another. That's oftentimes a challenge to do, to get past that. And then once you do, you go, oh, well, I guess it wasn't that big a deal anyway, but okay, I can move on now. That's where we really want to get to. Now, many times when we get offended, anger comes up. Anger is one of the chief emotions when you feel offended. I want to do something. And well, there's a statement I heard from a teaching from this podium some years ago that I pray to God I never forget. And that was, if you do something to me, what was it? I want to justice. If I do something to you, I want forgiveness. So you hurt me, I want justice. But if I hurt you, I want forgiveness. That is so true, and that has guided my dealings in these situations, because I go, well, I have no right to justice. I have no right to justice at all. You can't show me a scripture that says I can perform justice on somebody. It doesn't work that way. In fact, aren't we instructed in the scriptures that we are to forgive 7 times 70? That means no matter what you do, I'm to forgive you. That gets me back in alignment and harmony with my God, moving with Him. I don't skip a beat then. I don't always have the need or feel the need to point out every little thing that I might not feel the best about. That's just not worth my time to do. Just isn't for me. But like I said, if it is important enough, hey, God lays out a way to take care of that. Okay? But I think by forfeiting anger, or our right to anger, we are then denying ourselves. I'm denying my right to be angry. That then puts the emphasis on others. I am more other-centered than I am myself. And I want to be that way. I do. Don't always hit the mark, but I want to do that. In Ephesians 4, verse 26, if you are angry, don't sin by nursing your grudge. Don't let the sun go down with you still angry. Get over it quickly. For when you are angry, you give a mighty foothold to the devil. I don't know about you, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to give a foothold to him. Nope, don't want to. We endeavor to walk in love as much as possible. Just sang that song about God's love. That's the love we are to give to others. We are to live that way. And it's a challenge in this world because of all the distractions that we constantly have. Family, friends, traffic, our jobs, the internet, Facebook. Ugh. Don't get me started. I'm not on that. But we are to endeavor to walk that way to the best of our ability. And we need each other to help us do that. We weren't designed to walk this alone. We need each other. In Psalm 139, verse 23, search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts, and see if there be any grievous way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. Careful what you pray for, but know that God's going to show you. And God has a unique way of dealing with each and every one of you. Now, with my military background, God can talk to me a certain way. He can call me a bonehead for doing something stupid. I get it. I understand that. He probably wouldn't call you a bonehead, though, because that might hurt you. But he's unique. He really tailors his love because, Pat, he loves you as his daughter. He knows everything about you. He knows your heart. He knows exactly how to deal with you. And he does that with each one of us. He wants you to know that relationship is that intimate and that he's there. You've got that connection, that he can stand face to face with you and fill in anything you're lacking. Anything. But it is possible to guard your heart to live unoffended. You can do that. You know, there's a terminology out there about, oh, you got your button pushed, huh? Take the button off. Get rid of it. Anger, gone. So that you don't let anyone push that button again. You can choose to do that. Not to react, but to stop, think, pray, get guidance, and then act. It's not that hard to do. It just takes a little bit of practice because you have to stop that instant reaction that you may get. Not going to do that. You just step back, get quiet, pray. God will search your heart, help you out, show you things that you're doing that you don't even know you're doing. He'll do that for you and be like, thank you. You may not like hearing it when you hear it, but you need it. Okay? You know, when we're endeavoring in this walk, not only to walk in love, but to be Christ-like. We want to put on the mind of Christ. We want to be like him to other people. He got crucified on a cross and still said, forgive them for they know not what they do. He didn't hold offense to them. Why should we? Really, why should we? Tall order. Proverbs 19. This is one verse that Jessica and I had in common. A person's wisdom yields patience. It is to one's glory to overlook an offense. And the word glory is maturity. As you mature, it's not really going to bother me. I'm not going to let that bother me anymore. You just make your mind up to do that. And if it's right to react to every offense, you decide. That's between you and the Father. But go to the individual, deal with it with love, get it straightened out so that you can reunite as brothers and sisters or husbands and wives or whoever. Because the quicker you get that done, the better off you are. And we should really be like children. Yeah, I've watched Jessica's kids play. And 1 minute, you'd swear they're at each other's throats over a toy. And then the next, they're joyfully playing together. They were offended, and now they're okay. I think we need to be more childlike. So I want to show you this video. There any volume?
That's awesome. Wow, that is a tough kid right there.
Hey, Jarvis, it hit his helmet. But
So this is really cool because as a pitcher, Bubs looks shaken up right now because of what he did. And look at Zay Jarvis. This is such great sportsmanship. He wants him to know that it's okay, that he'll be fine.
Hey, Bob.
You're doing that's right. Let's go.
Look at me. Look at me. You're all right.
Amazing.
You're all right. Look at me. Hey, look. You can do it.
What a stud right there. Zay Jarvis.
That's good. The batter got hit. Now, if he was in the major leagues, there'd be a bench clearing, going out to beat up the pitcher. But these kids said, look, he knew his heart. He didn't mean to do it. He went out, made sure he was okay, and he was the one that was offended. I think we could be kids a little more in the way we see things and deal with things. I think it would help. All right, so let's be childlike. God bless.